Hello, Dr. Josie back here at Brilliant Wonders podcast. And oh my gosh, I am just so excited to share this podcast with you because I just had an amazing time. I was in the Dominican Republic for a Cairo missions trip. And Cairo missions, so it's chiropractic missions trip. Okay. And there's a whole front story on this whole piece because it was one of those things, and I know I shared it in my recent podcast, but let me just share this story with you again because it just goes to say, like, when you're listening to your inner voice, like, what can actually happen. And I think I need to hear this podcast again, or hear this message again, because there was such a flow going on in my life at that point that it was like, I don't know, I didn't question it. I didn't have any external noise. So it all started when I got arrived in Spain from my trip last year. I arrived in Spain and I needed to find a chiropractor. As chiropractors, we always tend to look for those wherever we go. So I found this chiropractor and was messaging with her and got on the schedule and the whole bit. But I actually never got to be adjusted by her, but she told me that she was going to be speaking at Cairo Europe seminar, and that was going to be next week. So she's like, "Why don't you come?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, it sounds good. That sounds perfect." So I ended up going to this seminar, and this doctor got up on stage and he talked about a chiropractic missions trip, and it was called Cairo Missions, and his name is Dr. Peter Morgan, and he's up there. He's from the United States, and he's from the Bronx. Or New York, or he's just got like this accent and kind of this like he was just a cool dude. Like he just didn't care about what people thought of him, but he was also, very intelligent and very smart, but very like, he was blunt. To put a better term to it, he was quite blunt, and he was still striving to be a better human every day, and a better chiropractor. So that was really cool to hear him speak. And as I was sitting there, I was like, I need to talk to him because I had wanted to go on a missions trip. And sure enough, at the end of his presentation, he said, there will be one doctor and one student that wins this trip. They're going to do a drawing for it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would be great. So the next day, when it was time to, come back and start seminar again, I had quite like the morning. I was just having trouble getting out the door, getting to the train station, getting on the train, and then getting, it was just going to take too much time and I was already late. So I decided to get an Uber into Fuegos. And as I did, and I like just walked down the stairs to the seminar, and they were on break, and they're like, okay, now we're drawing for the Cairo missions, prize, the to win it, to win this trip, this Cairo missions trip. And I seriously, I'm not even kidding you. I was just sitting down for maybe a minute. Like I just found my people, sat down, they drew my freaking name. They drew my name. So my name came up and I was like, what? So excited. And just like it just all fell into place perfectly. And then, so we got it organized, and I ended up being able to go the end of September. So that is why I just recently finished my first Cairo missions trip, my first real missions trip. I did do one in college in chiropractic school. We went to Brazil and adjusted in Manaus, Brazil. And that was way different than what I experienced on this one. And neither here or there, but they were just, that was life changing in Brazil for the first time of seeing that kind of care take place. This was very different, but I will say, like, I went into this mission trip without any expectations. I was a bad guest because I didn't join the onboarding call. I got my ticket late. My plane ticket there. I really, it's not that I was dragging my feet, but things weren't in flow quite like they were when I was in Spain. Anyway, so I eventually got there, and turns out, like, I wasn't sure if I'd be adjusting all day long, like hands on people, but I also knew I didn't have a table. We had 70 volunteers at this Cairo missions trip, meaning there was 70 people there to adjust. We had students and doctors, and everybody was, doing their thing. Our responsibility as DCs, as doctors, was to make sure that people were, you know, the students were had somebody there kind of keeping track of them, making sure that people are getting on their tables, trying to, help them out any way possible. So we had about, I'm going to say eight, maybe doctors doing that. And then we, had 66 students or some crazy thing. So we provided 30,000 adjustments in the Dominican Republic and in Haiti. And a little backstory on this. So this mission trip has been going on for many years at this point, like 20 years or more, 20 more years, 20 plus. And years ago, there was this earthquake and in Haiti, and what it did was like the buildings all went down. So all these buildings that had people working in them, all the adults were working, and the buildings crashed, killing all the adults, and then there were just kids everywhere. And the Dr. Peter Morgan saw this and wanted to help, and he built orphanages and women's clinics to birth babies in. And so he has like these had these buildings there. Well, it turns out in Haiti right now, they have not been able to cross the border into Haiti for 2 years because of their regulations. So he has some things going on over there that he can't even get to. He's got a car over there. He's got buildings that he built, but he can't even see them because we can't get over there. But we were able to cross the river. So there's a river that goes between the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and there's a bridge. And how it works is there's 20,000 Haitians that come to work at a textile factory. I think it's called Kodebi. I could be saying that wrong, but they commute back and forth across this river. So what we did was set up our chiropractic tables right across the river, and in Haiti at this factory, and then the all the workers would come walking through at the end of the day and be walking right through our tables. So we caught them there, and saw a lot of people at that point. A lot of people. It was so cool to watch. It was like floods of people. Like all of a sudden, a shift would come off, and then there was just tons and tons of people walking through. We did have a couple of rainstorms and things like that that kind of slowed things down a little bit, but I don't even know if I'd call it slowing down. It just felt a lot different because we all had to get underneath a gazebo type of, it's pretty much like a shed, no walls, but like, protection that way with a bunch of picnic tables and things in it. We would set up our tables underneath there. And I felt like people just kind of hung out and conversed a bit more. The language barrier, so in the Dominican, they speak Spanish, and in Haiti, they speak Creole. And turns out Creole is like, there's a lot of French to it. So it was really exciting because there was a few students that could speak French, could speak Creole, quite a few that could speak Spanish. And it was just neat to see them like interacting because I can't speak a lick of any of it. And I was, I was in Spain for that month and a half, and I picked up some, but not enough. And it really just, a second language is not clicking for me. So that's something that I really want to work on. But it was really neat to see, and just especially see like the students like excited to talk, and some of them it was their native language actually, so it was like they were connecting with their people, and it was really cool to watch. I had so many takeaways from this trip, and it's hard to even say where to start. So I can tell you story by story, but for the most part, like I want you to think about this as like a big, like almost like a vision or like a perspective. So when you go on these kind of mission trips, in my mind, the trip needs to be quite congruent with who you are, because there are tons of mission trips out there, a lot through churches, a lot through like Red Cross and like all these different things, but being really congruent with the reason why you're there, it sure makes it a miracle in a way. And the miracle comes from just being present with what you're doing, being present with what your gifts are. Like, for example, if I wanted to go on a mission trip and build a building for somebody, it's very important, very great, but my gifts are not to build a building. My gifts, I do not know how to, do that well. It would be better to pay for somebody to build a building that can build it way quicker than me, than in my opinion, than to um, send me down there to do that. Now, chiropractic, that's a different story, right? Like that is a gift of mine that I'm very, I'm willing to share, or any kind of caregiving, or you know um whatever. So just when I'm thinking of someone trying to pick a mission trip, maybe for yourselves, it is life changing, and it's especially life changing when you're sharing your gifts with a with being very present, and being, it's like you don't have this exchange, or there is an exchange, but it's an energetic exchange. It's not necessarily funds, it's not even necessarily time. It's like this exchange um of of gifts between the two people. And when you see those kind of things, that exchange like that, and that reciprocate, like they receive it, we receive it, we give it, they give it, like it's just like this really natural exchange. It's where miracles are starting will happen. When we go into things and having this expectation of what something looks like, especially when you're dealing with the human biology, the human body, like we it's not tit for tat. That's just not how it works. Our bodies are mind, body, spirit. Like it's all three things, and when we are working with that, and we are only looking at like the physical piece, we just don't see the exchange. As soon as you get into like this, the spiritual piece of it, the understanding who it is inside there, and connecting with that person inside there. Like I know you guys have done this book before, where you can walk into a room and you feel like the love, and like there's like a good feeling about the space, and then you walk into a room like after an argument, and you walk in and it feels very like heavier, right? It's the same sort of thing, like kind of tapping into that that space, that spirituality of us here on earth. um it's like it's, I don't know, it's just a beautiful, beautiful experience when you're able to do that, when you're able to really tap um into the mission, or into what you're doing. So I did not have any expectations on this trip, other than I was like, well, I think I'll be adjusting a lot, so I thought I better work out a little bit more, and start, like, okay, so what am I going to have there to adjust with? And it's like, okay, a table, no drops, no, none of my instruments or whatever. It's just these things that God gave me called my hands, right? So that's what I was thinking it might be, but it turned out I did a lot of teaching. So that was really neat. I taught the PEDS program. One of the days, I was like a guide in there anyway, but like during the PEDS program, I did have like a presentation I gave. And then they actually asked me to do the meditations every morning. So I was, working on different skills of mine while I was there, to get the docs and help the docs feel like confident in their adjusting. So cool. So cool. One other thing I really noticed, and this was mostly during the pediatric workshop. So what they did is they bussed about 100 plus kids into or to us. So from Haiti. So the Haiti the orphanages that we were working with, they were in Haiti, and so we couldn't go there. So they brought the kids to us. So we saw in about an hour and a half, we'd see about 100 kids, and kids show a lot of things. And I'm not saying this is good or bad, either direction, but I am going to help I'm going to spark a little question, most likely, in your brains. So when I see babies, often in the United States, right? Like that's where my practice is, that's what I know. And I'm seeing these babies, I see most often quite tight babies. They, their arms are up near their shoulders or their elbows are bent. Their spines are straight where they want to like flail backwards. You know, we see colic, we see trouble sleeping, we see babies that are kind of like their eyes are going like they're trying like they're always looking for a threat, right? So I typically, when I'm seeing kids here, and trying to get them to lay on the table and all these different things, like no, like that's not fun for a kiddo. But I'm even seeing it as newborns, like all these like tightness, trouble crawling, trouble latching, you know, all these things. Okay, so I'm seeing babies that are in fight or flight. That's what that means. They're in fight or flight, and we're needing to calm their nervous system down or help them calm and feel safe in their bodies. Like that's the goal. So then the next piece of it is, when we were working with babies from the Dominican, it was very different. The first baby that Dr. Henry picked up to bring to like show what we were going to do, to the students, she was sleeping, and she slept through the whole adjustment, which is not uncommon per se, but we like we did a we did a presentation on this baby, right? So we were messing with her legs, and we were tipping her upside down to check, neck range of motion, and or like, all all of the checks that I'm sure you listeners don't really care to know about. But anyway, so we tipped her upside down. We held her on her, like showed all the different ways to adjust a baby, whether it's like they're on their laying or on us and then adjusting their spine with like them on our arm, like in a football hold. And then we'd rolled her around and showed how to like work the pelvis, with her face facing towards you. And, like she was in every position possible, and she never woke up. So let me ask you, like, is that a baby in fight or flight? No, right? It's not. I do not want to say which direction kids are healthier in right now. Like, this is a whole nother topic. But in this country where there is less health care, probably like not vaccinated, right? They're held a lot. So we did notice that they're held a lot because it's not safe for them to like crawl around in the dirt or like into the streets and whatnot. Like they're on the mom's hip. Like that's just how it works, or sister's hip or whatnot. There's 10 plus kids in families. That is very, very common because there's not a lot of jobs in Haiti. So what do people do for entertainment, right? Like they have babies. So younger girls are having babies, and anyway, all these things, and they're natural home births. Like they just are. Like they don't have anywhere else to go. Like they're going to be having them at home. Seeing the shape of these kids' heads, like they're practically perfect, minus the fact that they did go through the birth canal, so there's a little bit of tension through the forehead that you can see, where it's how they kind of come around through the birth canal. But like a lot of babies that I see are having, flat heads, or like their eyes are kind of crooked or whatever. Like we have some major problems with plagiocephaly and all the different things. And so, yes, I'm not saying which one's healthier, but like, what are we doing to put our kiddos in fight or flight? Like these people are worried about their safety all of the time. Like between the rebels and all the things going on in the country that are pretty rough. Like we see that, but on a different level. But we're just so stimulated, I think, on other external things like dyes and foods and, all the things. So I did notice a big difference between their nervous system regulations. There's big trauma there. there's big trauma here, you know. Um, it's just, it's very interesting. It was just an observance, to be honest. It was one of those things that I wasn't expecting to see that I did see. Um, Lots of foot adjusting, lots of back. The ladies carried, big, heavy, like all the things that they would sell, like jewelry or shoes or whatever, they'd carry it on their heads, through the markets and stuff. So definitely a lot of physical things we'd see in the adults. But the kids is what surprised me probably the most. The other thing I really noticed is why there's so many like miracles that happen on mission trips. And like, to me, it's because we have no noise. And what I mean by that is, if you come into a healthcare facility, you are giving them your driver's license, you're giving them paperwork, you're talking insurance, you're signing your life away, you've got a million signatures you're signing for your kids, and you're, all for protection before you even get to see the doctor. And then the doctor's got malpractice insurance and licensing and all these things. Like, there's all these contracts outside of like doing the work and adjusting, right? And or providing whatever medical care or whatever you're wanting done. And what I found, like, people would just like, we couldn't speak their language, or very few of us could. Some could, but it wasn't like you were having like this full on conversation about a history or anything. It was like, come in and they'd like smile at you, give you a thumbs up, and lay down on your table, and then you worked on them. You connected with the person, you found what you found, you worked on what you worked on, and then that was the end of the visit. Very rarely was there like, what exercises can I do, what else, why, all these things. It was just like this trust between the doctor and the patient, that it was like, we're done. Like, this was a good visit. This is it. Like, I did the best I can. You did the best you can. Let's see how your body handles the input, and how it starts to adapt and change and adjust. It was just a really, really beautiful thing to see that kind of trust happening on the mission trip. The other thing that came up, so we had a Bible study every morning, and found it very neat because, of course, we studied more into faith, like having full faith in what you are and who you are, and having full faith in God, and having full faith in the gifts that He gives you, and all these things. So there was a lot of that going on. But what I noticed most was leadership. Like, we had some amazing docs that were there, and we had amazing kids too. But with that little intention on like how to be a leader, and how Jesus was the leader for the disciples and for the people and all the things, like, just remember that Jesus was a human being, and that we are to live like Jesus did. And part of that has to do with having full faith in this world. And I can't imagine Him being here right now in this world right now, having full faith in everything going on. But it was full faith in God, and that we are, like, it is in us. And so, like, I don't know, it was just every morning we talked about the healing and the power of that, and that it's possible, and that full faith, and it's not about us. It has nothing to do with us. It has to do with the power in each other, and like in working with that, working with the power of God within each one of us, right? And being able to respect and provide and be a conduit for His work. Like, that's all this body is, that we are, this flesh is just the conduit for, connection of spirits. And I don't know, it was a beautiful way to start the morning, with some conversation around that. And I'm not saying that I'm God. I'm not saying chiropractors are God, but we are God. Like, I struggle with it because it's not egotistically that way. Each one of us has this power within us to because we are guided, and all of us, honestly, like, I do all this nervous system regulation and helping people, build confidence and clarity and all these things, but really that all that is, you guys, is just becoming more um, in tune and in alignment with what God has for us. Listening to that inner voice and following that. And that includes like choosing who your chiropractor is, or choosing how to have that conversation, or who do you need help with? Do I need to drink water? Do I need to eat this, you know, I don't know, Twizzler, or should I have eggs? Every question, every thought, every decision is a godly one, or it can be. And I'm just trying to help, I guess, through everything that I've been working on in the last 8 months, or even longer, let's be honest, but like diligently, is about that. It's about like hearing that inner voice and being so connected to that inner voice that you're clear, what's next for you and what you need to do, not only to survive but to thrive. We forget that. It's like we get caught up in a lot of information. There's so much information out there, but the best person to get information from is honestly yourself. I'm not saying not to learn, but take that information and then apply it to you and to what feels good. But if you don't know how to listen to that inner voice, and you don't know how to feel safe with yourself, trust in yourself and feel safe within your own body, it's really, really hard to hear that inner voice. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm definitely not saying that. But gosh, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. I mean, just questioning. And I have faults, and I am questioning all the time right now. Like, I'm questioning, how to move on with this, with these different projects, or which projects need to be left behind, or whatever. Like, I'm questioning all these things too, but I'm not listening to anyone else tell me what to do. I'm listening to my inner self. And some days she's loud, and some days she's very, very quiet. And some days I don't even feel like she's there, right? But we know it is. We just have to invite it in. So anyway, I went on a little tangent there, but the Cairo missions trip, getting back to that, was just another little sign that things are going in the right direction. And I would definitely recommend doing a mission trip at some point in your life, just to get some perspective. It almost is like a pause on what your life is, to see how other people live, and seeing the good in it. I think that was a big thing. Like, I didn't come back from the Dominican, or from meeting people from Haiti. I didn't come back thinking like, I came back grateful for the life that I have, but I bet they're grateful for the life they have. To be honest, there's pieces of that I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. How they look at people in the eyes, and I mean, their distractions are much less than ours are. Their distractions are more terrifying, some of them, but for the most part, like, it's just like this. They have community, you guys. They have community. One person would get adjusted, and then they would go and tell all their friends, and pretty soon, and I'm telling you, like, walking, or like, yelling down the street saying, hey, come get adjusted. Like, that's how it was, because, or it's a community there in a big way. They take care of each other. So there's just some really neat things to bring home, and to maybe see like where I could use some work, and what maybe some things that we're doing right, and just some perspective. We are so blessed to be in a country where we can like make our own choices, but we are in charge of making them. And I think the less that we get of that, the harder it is to make changes. But I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so happy to be from this country, but we do get to make our own choices. but we're responsible for those choices, and we're responsible for, in my opinion, we're responsible for listening to our inner self, because I do think it's always right. It might not be what everyone else wants from you, but it's right. But you have to trust that it's right. Your ego can't be sitting there making the decision. It's got to be that id, that soul, making it. Okay, so from Cairo missions to like soul driven podcast here, I think that's a good place to end. I have so many more things to share, but that'll be on a different one. This is just like a big insight, a big take home, um, and just say hi again, to say hi and get back to this community. So I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast. If there's anything you want to know more about this mission trip or about the area, please shoot me a message. Send me an email. drjosiej@gmail.com is a way to connect with me, or I'm on all the socials. So would love to hear from you about maybe some things like that, or a mission trip that you've been on. I would love to, see if we had similar experiences. So hop on a phone call and chat about it. So anyway, that is the end to the Brilliant Wonders podcast. I am Josie, your host, and so happy to be here. And thank you for listening.